friend of mine said today that got the new law now saying that TikTok will be banned if they don't sell it to an American company. And a friend of mine said DJI is next. They had the same thing with that. And this is a DJI camera, so. One direction. Chinese company. Yeah, and to set this up, when I first bought this, you had to use a smartphone to connect it to the app. So, and I've noticed every time I try to upload, to YouTube, it takes way longer than it used to with my older camera. And I think it's probably because it's uploading to China and then to YouTube. So they're keeping track of everything.
Do you think the government's going to do that?
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to think. But my way of handling privacy is to just deluge them with so much stuff that they would basically have to hire 3 people for each person that they want to watch. And probably they'll need to hire 3 people to watch each of those 3 watchers. Sorry, that sounds like Dr. Seuss.
Content.
Who?
You release so much content.
Oh yeah, exactly. Here's what I had for breakfast this morning. This raisin is really. Look at all the grooves on this raisin. You can see the sugar is inside of all the.
Yeah, I want to try that.
No wonder the raisin tastes so good. There's so much sugar on it. But I did work at the NSA for 4.5 years. That was from 83 to 87. I was a Russian-German translator and French. So at the time, the first 3 years I was basically translating German into Russian. So we had a database that was kept in Russian, and some of the stuff came in German. So then it was interesting because the folks that worked with the computer figured out how to get the computer to do my job. So I needed another job, so they gave me a different job that was basically training folks, and that was fun. We would always say, "U nas нет шпионов," we don't have spies. But of course we do. But we were part of the army, so you don't think of the army as spies. Although it was funny when I worked there, we had like a random schedule that you had to wear a uniform on some days, but civilian clothes on others. And their explanation was they wanted to keep the Soviets completely baffled as to how many military people were working there.
Does that even do anything? I think they would already know. They really don't know.
Well, I remember the funniest thing in Berlin when I first went. That was my first duty station, was Berlin. And when I got there, did I show you where I worked in Berlin?
Was it
The field station. That's just hilarious, actually.
Oh, the one that's like sticking up?
Yep.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But when I first went there, they took us on a tour. It was a part of the School of Standards, which was SOS, and because they wanted everyone who was in the military in Berlin to behave, because we were representing the government, in a very sensitive place. but on the tour, the bus tour, um, and things, we were not supposed to wear our unit crests when we were walking around because we didn't want them to know that we were in intelligence. But we were the only unit that didn't wear the crest.
They knew.
Yeah, we were. It was just ridiculous. Well, we went into the East Zone, the communist, the Russian zone. We'd go to the bookstores because we were all Russian linguists, and so we wanted to buy the Russian books. And so we'd go in and pick out a stack of Russian books and then go up to the counter. But we weren't allowed to say that we spoke Russian. So we would talk German with the cashier and so on. I remember she would always, say things in Russian, and we had to act like we didn't understand Russian, even though we're buying Brezhnev Govorit, That was just games, ridiculous. But we weren't supposed to speak any of the so-called target languages, like Polish, Romanian, Ukrainian.
Your intelligence or something like that?
I suppose, I don't know who thought up those restrictions, but you'd speak German, even though German was actually one, but you were living in Germany, so it wasn't sensible at all to not try to speak German. But it was neat. It's gone now because, of course, the wall is gone. And for a while, in fact, that's when I was able to retire. It's because the Russians are our friends. And now that's all screwed up. Scary, because Putin seems constantly to be threatening to use nuclear weapons if he doesn't get his way. And NATO and everybody is just totally committed to not letting him get his way. So that's quite... I think it's scarier than it was when I was in the military. I asked ChatGPT who was the most relevant philosopher so far, and I was surprised they came up with these folks, and it made me suspicious that ChatGPT knows who I've asked about, and it's just picking people that I've mentioned.
Wasn't Judith Butler one of the ones on your list?
Yeah, I think all of these were on my list.
Yeah, I picked Owen. Was it Owen Flanagan?
Owen Flanagan.
Flanagan, yeah. That's terrible.
He's kind of a postmodernist, I suppose. Cognitive Map. This is a really old website, by the way, so the links and everything are just really goofy. And of course, not everything works anymore. I like playing with all the different backgrounds and things.
It's interesting.
there was one page where I actually had like a fire going, which was fun. That was in the 90s. I did that. You can see I scanned that picture and then rearranged it. And then that. Remember if these links still work. Well, am I making the course cooler now? Trying to. What do you do on the last day to make it a cooler course? I thought I made it a cool course the whole time.
I go to the semester classes because I don't know, like math classes and stuff sometimes. I don't like math, so. But I'll go to the end of the year classes though, because they're trying hard to like have a nice last day, so I go every week and do it.
Now, when it comes to math, I think there's three different kinds of people: the kind that like math and the kind that don't. So.
I've heard that joke before. But
I don't get it either. Must have something to do with, well, the person who's telling the joke obviously doesn't like math. It makes more sense when you talk about what is it? When you're just using ones and O's, binary, is it binary code? I guess when you say there's three types of people: those that get binary code and those that don't. I don't think I told that joke right.
I think they lost something in translation.
Yeah. But it's, I forget how it goes. I can ask the internet and it'll tell me how that joke goes. I was trying to actually move those pages onto the internet and link them, and all of these are actually on there, but I don't have links to them, so you just have to remember this list and go to them in order to get to them. But I can't edit this page at all anymore. It's no longer. I don't have the machine that I used to use to edit it. It's got too old for them to even support it. So this web page.
Did you copy and paste it into like a new PFD or something like that? Like you could copy the whole page and put it onto it.
I actually have copies of it, but I don't think there's enough interest out there of anybody's to actually use it. It was so old. And this was I used to have it set up so that I could do everything from it, but now they want everything on Blackboard. And in fact, Blackboard is changing again. They're changing Blackboard. Blackboard, I think it'll still be Blackboard, but they're changing it to Ultra or something. And so it's we already are like scheduled for training on how to use the new system.
They're doing that for next year?
It's a gradual phase in, so not everybody will be using it, but they wanted the philosophy department as a whole to use it. And so I even said sure, because basically as soon as they start it, all I'll do is figure out how to avoid using it. Because it's just more stuff for me to learn how to use. And, you know, the main thing is teaching philosophy, not learning how to use new computer programs to teach philosophy. That's a waste of time. Especially when within a couple of years it'll all change anyway.
Good.
And this last December, I think, is when they made me switch to Windows 11,
What were you going for?
Windows 10. But Windows 11 was through the university, so my computer at home acts like it's owned by the university. So every once in a while I have to change my password in order to use it. And they say, oh, you have to change your password again. I'm getting old enough that I could forget my passwords and then not be able to use things, which would be very annoying. Fortunately, books don't seem to require passwords yet. That could have been funny. In the books, these things. You can actually open them without, even say, we won't let you read this page unless you prove to us that you're you. Have you guys had any trouble with the new system? They just made it so that students have to have a double.
I set it up before they required it. It's too hard.
So you're good with that. Yeah.
It's annoying,
Do you use like a cell phone as your second thing?
it'll send through, like, it'll just give you like a little code that you have to enter, and you can put in your phone for this all the code. I think it's, I don't even think it does a whole lot, it just annoys me. I'm up at like 2 in the morning, doing my work or whatever, I don't want to be interrupted by this. It only takes like 30 seconds, so I won't do it.
It even affects our home TV. Because my wife, in watching Yukon TV, I think it is. It's a local way to watch a whole bunch of shows.